It's not something that could be trivial. It's referred to as a heap, not a trickle. It was a tremendous feat of God, for it marked the separation of the children of Israel from their captors in Egypt. Now remember, their destination is Mount Horeb. They were to cross the Red Sea, and after the crossing, they would travel 3 days to Marah, the place of the bitter springs. Verse 22 and 23, so Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea. Then they went into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Now when they came to Marah, they could not drink the water of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. Now in this northwestern portion of Saudi Arabia, leaving from the Straits of Tiran, there's been 2 individuals who've explored this area to a reasonable level. There was 2 individuals, Bob Kernook and Larry Williams, who went to this area of Saudi Arabia and went 30 kilometers into the wilderness, which would equate to about a 3-day journey. And lo and behold, they found, even now, they found the residual of bitter springs. This area, the soil is very porous, and therefore the brackish water would be the result of the Salton Sea impregnating the aquifer, the source of clean water in this southern tip of the region of Saudi Arabia, in the area of Midian. But there was another explorer who made the same journey, only he went along the coast, went 3 days' journey, and again found what was obviously springs that were still producing bitter water, undrinkable, brackish water. We then know from there that they then camped at Elim, where there were 12 wells and 70 palm trees. And then we are told, then they camped by the Red Sea. When Bob Kernook and Larry Williams continued their journey, they traveled again about another 30 kilometers, and they found an ancient oasis. This is an image from Google Earth of this particular area. And there today is an ancient oasis. When you read his book, Mountain of God, he actually has photographs of 12 ancient wells that are in keeping with the story of the Exodus. But this other explorer also went a short distance north and came to the city of El Makna along the coast of the Gulf of Aqaba, and there discovered an area which also has 12 ancient wells and is still today producing enough water to supply the needs of the entire city. There's a significant city that's there, El Makna. We are told in the account that they went from there, camped by the Red Sea. That's one of the problems I have with the Bob Kernook, Larry Williams solution, is you can't get back to the Red Sea from there very easily. They went from the Red Sea, and then we are told they turned into the wilderness of Sin. And they came to Rephidim, where there was water from the rock. Chapter 17, Exodus. Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the commandment of the Lord, and they camped in Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they moved from Elim inland. Now, this area of Midian is an area which receives a cumulative rainfall over 10 years of less than 1/4 inch, 5 millimeters of water cumulative every 10 years. It's an incredibly dry area. Now, in front of this area, there is a mountain ridge, which at this point we're going to identify as Mount Horeb. And we'll show you evidence that on the other side, the eastern side of this, is actually a good candidate for the camp of Sinai. Now, the word Rephidim means a resting place. God takes them into the middle of a desert where nothing can live and says, now this is the place you're going to rest. It's strange that God would take him to such a environmentally hostile place for them to rest. On the way, they would have passed through what today is the city of Al-Bad. It is referred to as the city of Midian or the city of Jethro, the father-in-law today. The people that live in Al-Bad refer to it as the city of Jethro, the father-in-law of Moses. In fact, west of the city is an ancient well that they refer to as the Well of Moses. You remember the story of Moses when he arrives in the land of Midian. He sees the daughters of Jethro struggling, and he goes and he waters the flocks of the daughters of Jethro. So the people who live in this area refer to this ancient well as the Well of Moses. From there, they go up into an area where there is an ancient lake bed. Now, did you hear me? A lake bed in the middle of the Saudi Arabian desert that gets less than 1/4 inch cumulative rain every 10 years. We are told that when they arrive at this place in the wilderness, that God tells Moses to strike the rock under the presence of God. God goes and resides over a particular rock and says, now strike this rock. Psalm 78 tells us in verses 15 to 16, he split the rock in the wilderness and gave them drink in abundance like the depths. He also brought streams out of the rock and caused water to run down like rivers. There was a family called the Caldwells that lived in Saudi Arabia, I think more than 10, it might be even 14 years. And they did some significant research in this particular area. For further information, I would recommend that you visit their website, www.splitrockresearch.com. They have some further information and booklets. But while they were there in the country, they would take each of their holidays to this region because they were looking for the evidence of the Exodus. And they were the ones in this area to find an amazing feature. For there in the midst of this ancient lake bed is a rock formation that stands upright and is 6 stories high. When you look at this feature on Google Earth, there its longitude and its latitude, this satellite imagery indicates that there is a shadow that dwarfs anything around it, thus being able to determine that the height of this is at least 6 stories high. Massive rock. What's interesting about this rock is that, first of all, not only is it perched in a peculiar sort of a way to be found in the middle of a desert arid area, but there is a split down the middle of the rock. If that's not peculiar enough, at the base of the rock, at the bottom of the split, there is the obvious evidence of water erosion. It's in an area of less than 1/4 inch of rain every 10 years. And that as they go down from this rock, all of the rock around it is smooth.